Sechas Bava Metzia Gimel concludes the Gemara's discussion about whether Tzar B'Lechaim is Ines or Deraisa or Derabanan. And then we begin the last Mishnah in Bava Metzia, which discusses how do you contrast and conflict if you have to deal with multiple Avedas of different people at the same time, which take priority. Well, will get us into the conversation about a father versus a Rebbe and what exactly is the definition of a Rebbe. Let's begin. The Gemara is trying to prove whether Tzar B'Lechaim is an Ines Deraisa or an Ines Derabanan. So Gemara quotes a pasuk which says, "Roivates, you should you should help unload an animal if you see that it's roivates, that it's squatting, that it has collapsed under the load that it has." Says the Gemara, the Brisa, the Rasha is roivates only if it's squatting and it's collapsed this one time, and if it's a lazy animal that frequently collapses and lays itself down under the burden that it's carrying. Next, the drush is that it has to be that it's roivates that it's actually collapsed, not if it's still managing to stand. And the third is that it's tachas masai, that it's under the packages, as opposed to if it is already unloaded and the master is trying to load it. I think more is going to ask soon. Obviously, there is a mitzvah to help load, so what is that drush supposed to mean? Now, masai has to be its load, has to be a load that it is capable of carrying. If it's one that's incapable of carrying, there's no mitzvah of te'ina. Now the Gemara asks if Tzar B'Lechaim is a mitzvah deraisa. Let's go to the first halacha. It's only if it's roivates this one time, not if it's continuously roivates. Let's say it's continuously roivates. It's still Tzar B'Lechaim. So why should that make a difference? So our answer is you're right. That would be a good proof. So this is Rabbi Yosef I'll tell you, and this does not tell us what the Rabbanan hold. We know Rabbi Yosef holds that Tzar B'Lechaim is not a deraisa. We're trying to figure out what the Rabbanan hold. Says the Gemara that it's mistaber that has to be this way. That has to be that's basically and not the Rabbanan, because it says Masai, which is its burden that it has to carry. Who's the one who says that it's only its burden? That's Rabbi Yosef holds the way. So you see that this is really Rabbi Yosef. So hold on a second. This can't be Rabbi Yosef because the end of this brisa says not if it's a mitzvah that it's only if it's loaded and not if it's unloaded and you're trying to load it. Now, what does that mean? Unloaded and trying to load is not a mitzvah. Short as it says hakim takim, if a mitzvah to load. So what it must mean is that when it has to be loaded, you don't have to do it for free. That you can claim to get payment for. That is the shita that disagrees with Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef says that you are not allowed to take charge for that. So Gemara says no, it's a different brisa which holds like Rabbi Yosef on the other halacha and does not hold like Rabbi Yosef as far as that goes. Okay, says the Gemara another topic. A brisa says, how far away does the animal have to be mekayim the halacha? Or how close can it be? So the brisa says that it says kisira, which implies that you see it from a distance far away, and then it says kisifka, which implies that you encountered it right up with you. So which is it? It's a combination of the two, sira and sifka, not too far. You don't have to wait until it's too close, but you can't do it when it's too far. You're not chayiv in it, that is when it's too far. And Chachavim were mashayar that is 1/7 of a mil, which the Gemara says is a ris. It says the further, and you actually walk with it for a while in order to make sure that it can last. You don't just load it up and walk away. You have to check out that they're surviving. And it says Rabbi Barachana, you can get paid for that time that you're walking along with it. Okay, now we begin the next Mishnah, last Mishnah in Bava Metzia, which discusses what happens if you have multiple Avedas at the same time, which one should get priority. So if it's yours and your father's, priority goes to you. You always take priority yourself. If it's yours and your Rebbe's, again, you take priority. Now, if it's the father's and the Rebbe's, so now you have a conflict. So the halacha is that the Rebbe takes priority because the Rebbe brings him into Olam Haba and the father just brought him into Olam Hazeh. However, if the father is a Talmud Chacham, then the father takes precedence over the Rebbe. Now, same halacha applies as if they were both carrying things and they need help unloading. You should first unload the Rebbe and then unload the father. And if they were both captives, you should first redeem the Rebbe and then redeem the father. And again, if the father was a Chacham, then you would say redeem the father first and then redeem the Rebbe afterwards. Okay, says the Gemara, what is the source of the halacha that chayacha kaidman? You should deal with your own money, your own laws first before taking care of your father or your Rebbe? Says Rabbi Yehuda Rav. It's learned from the pasuk that says Efes kilei v'cha evyain. You should not get yourself into poverty at all. Your property takes precedence over other people's property. It says Rabbi Yehuda Marav, though, somebody who keeps this halacha is going to end up in a poor situation anyway. Meaning this is the din, but you should always do lefnim mishras din. You should not keep to the letter of the law in this halacha. Now, says the Gemara further, if the father and the Rebbe, the Mishnah said if the father and the Rebbe were carrying the package, they need to be unloaded, the same precedence halacha. So the Gemara quotes a brisa that says, what is the definition of a Rebbe here? The Rebbe is one who taught him chachma, and not somebody who just taught him psukim. Not someone who just taught him chumash, but somebody who taught him how to learn, and not just someone who taught him mishnayos. That's according to Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says, anyone that has the majority of his chachma learned from him, that counts as a Rebbe in this halacha. Rabbi Yosi says, even if you just taught him one mishnah, you just taught him one halacha, he's a Rebbe. Says Rava, an example to that would be that Rav Schaira taught me what a zuhama listrun is. This kli that's mentioned in Kalim that's used to take the fats off the top of a pot of soup. He taught me that, and therefore it counts as a Rebbe for me. Shmuel would even tear his clothing. He would rice kriya on a certain Talmid Chacham who taught him the Mishnah in the Talmud describing how the Kohanim would come in to unlock the Heichal in order to run to the Avodah, or they would unlock the Azara, that is, in order to run to do Trumas Hadeshin. So there were two keyholes. You would stick your arm all the way into one and open, and one you didn't have to stick your arm in. It was just the key part was at the front. And because he explained him that halacha, he would tear kriya just from learning that one halacha from him. Said Ua Talmidei Chachamim that are in Bavel stand up for each other and they tear kriya for each other, even though they're on the same level, even though they just learn things from each other, and therefore they tore kriya for each other. Now, however, to return a lost object in the place of their father, that you wouldn't do. That was only for a Rebbe Movok. That's only for the Rebbe that you learn the majority of your chachma from. Now, Rav Chizda asked Rav Huna a shayla. What about a Rebbe who needs the Talmud? That the Talmud has information that the Rebbe doesn't have, and the Rebbe needs him. Now, Rav Huna, so his question was, does the Rebbe get the covet of taking precedence over the father there? Now, this was asked by Rav Chizda to Rav Huna. Rav Huna was Rav Chizda's Rebbe. So Rav Huna thought that Rav Chizda was trying to say, like me, like what would be my halacha, because I know you need me. And he was upset about that, and he said, Chizda, I don't need you, you still need me. And of course, that's not what Rav Chizda had meant, and it was a misunderstanding. But the two of them were upset at each other for 40 years and didn't go speak to each other for 40 years. Afterwards, they had charata, and Rav Chizda fasted 40 days because he made Rav Huna upset, and Rav Huna fasted 40 days because he suspected Rav Chizda of having said such a thing. Said Rav Chitzuk Bar Yosef, in the name of Rav Yechanan Halachas like Rabbi Yehuda, Bar Acha, Bar Rav Huna. Rav Sheshes said the halachas like Rabbi Yosi. The Gemara asked Rabbi Yechanan really said that, but Rabbi Yechanan said the halachas like a Stam and Mishnah, and we have a Stam Mishnah that says that it's the Rebbe who taught him his Chachma, versus Chachma means Rav Chachma, like he says here, and it's not a stira. Says the Gemara now about the quality of learning. The Brisa says somebody who learns Psukim is Mida ve'ina Mida. It's good, but it's not great. Somebody who learns Mishnah is a Mida. That's a good thing, and he gets schar for that. Somebody learns Gemara. That is the greatest that there is. There's nothing greater than that. And you should always run to learn Mishnah more than Gemara. So Gemara it's a stira. First you tell me Gemara is the greatest thing. Then you tell me learn Mishnah more than Gemara. Says Gemara, yeah, because there was a problem that people stopped learning Mishnayos. This Mishnah was taught in the days of Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, who wanted to encourage people to learn Gemara. And then everybody went to learn Gemara, so then he said everybody should run to learn Mishnah more than Gemara because people were forgetting Mishnayos. Says the Gemara, what's the Rasha that he made? Hagadami Pisham, Olavesakiv Chatasem. Hagadami Pisham means Talmidei Chachamim, that a mistake that they make is like a Zadin because they should have learned more. It's not, they're responsible for the mistake that they made. The Beisakiv Chatasem is Amei Aretz. Things which they do wrong on purpose is like a Shkaga because they just didn't know. And that's what the Mishnah also says. Rabbi Yehuda says, be careful with a Talmud because the mistake that Talmud makes counts as a Zadan, counts as the sin done on purpose. Says Rabbi Yehuda Drasha, says Drasha of Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eloi. What does it mean? Shimud Dvar Hashem Acharedim El Dvaroi. Listen to the word of Hashem, those who tremble at His word. That's Talmidei Chachamim. Then it says Achechem. That's people who learn Mikra, who learn Psukim. Sanechem, that's people who learn Mishnah. Minadechem, that's Amei Aretz. So maybe you'll think that if they lose their Svara and they That's it. They don't have a chance anymore. Therefore, it says, "V'nir b'simchaschem," and we'll see in your rejoicing. Maybe you'll think that Yisrael will be embarrassed. Therefore, it says, "V'heim yivayishu avdei kechavim." The avdei kechavim will be embarrassed, and Yisrael will have simcha. That concludes Parak Bava Metzia. Now we begin Parak Hamafkid. Parak Hamafkid discusses, it brings a Mishnah we've seen before, discussing somebody who leaves property by someone else, and he was a shomer chinam, and the object got stolen or lost. So the halacha is a shomer chinam is patur for gneva b'aveda. So he should just have to swear shvuas l'shomrim that he wasn't posheya in it, he didn't use it, and he would be patur, wouldn't need it to pay for it. However, this person did not want to patur himself, he did not want to swear, and therefore he decided to pay instead. Now he paid for it. Then they found the real thief. Now the thief has to pay not only for the object, but he also has to pay an extra. He has to pay kefel, and if he slaughtered it or sold it, he has to pay 4 or 5 times the amount, depending if it's a sheep or a cow. So obviously he needs to pay the main amount to the shomer because he's the one who paid for it. The question is, who gets the kefel and the dalad v'hei? So the Mishnah says it goes to the shomer. Since he now purchased the animal, as it were, by paying for it, the extra payments now go to him. He's the owner. The Gemara will discuss soon what the mechanics of that is. Now, if the original shomer did not pay, instead he swore and he was patur, of course these payments go to the original owner and not to the shomer. Now, the Mishnah listed this in 2 cases. It talked about a behema and kalim. So why does it have to mention behema and kalim? The Gemara says the chiddush is that the mechanism of the shomer being the one to collect the dalad v'hei and the kefel is a bigger chiddush in each of those. So how does it work? What it really way it works, and the Gemara will have to discuss it at length, but what's happening is that the original shomer is giving over the right to collect kalim or dalad v'hei to that shomer, either at the time that he pays for it or earlier, but it's up to him. It really belongs to him. It's up to him to give that over. So if we would have only said an animal, he gives it over, you may think because an animal is a pain to take care of, and therefore he gave it over as a reward for the care that he took for it. However, kalim, you would think not. Therefore, the Mishnah has to mention kalim. If it only say kalim, you would think only by kalim does he give over the kefel, because there's not going to be that much. There's no dalad v'hei, you can't shacht, and there's no if you sell the kli, there's no extra payment for it. There's only kefel. But for an animal, you actually have to give away the dalad v'hei. Maybe he doesn't give anything away at all.